Gaurav Sharma, very nice to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Martin. Thank you very much for having me here.
Very well. How's the snowy Boston?
It's there. It's getting there. I think we got a lot of snow over the weekend, and still yesterday also it was snowing. So I think that was the last. That's what I'm expecting and telling myself. Who knows? I think I have seen in March as well. We got snow like a couple of years ago, but this year has been a lot of snow for us.
Good luck cleaning out the driveways and all that good stuff. Well, look, Gaurav, really pleased to have you on. Would love for the benefit of the audience, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah, name is Gaurav Sharma. I have been within Valley Space. It's in service now for last 8 years now. I started as a Valley consultant, focusing on commercial accounts and then enterprise accounts on the eastern region, working with sellers, with customers, building the business cases, help customer understand how the outcomes align, features and functionalities of ServiceNow solution, and finally help them understand the economic justification of their investment in solutions. I moved into a scale kind of a services that we were providing under value consulting organization. So my role has been primarily building a scaling value services for sellers, building via content and tooling so that sellers can self-service and build business cases for the deals where value consultants cannot provide the white glove services. So my primary goal has been building those systems, tools, content, and enabling sellers to leverage that and talk about value, run the value engagements when value consultant is not in the room.
And ServiceNow has quite a positive reputation in the value space as a whole. How big is the value practice team at ServiceNow?
Since my tenure here, it has expanded significantly.
Yeah.
I think when I joined, we were around 15 to 20 value consultants. Now it's more than 100 value consultants.
Amazing.
It's significantly grown over time, and then now it's a big team. Focusing on the strategic accounts and helping sellers as well at the same time, building the business cases.
And when you talk about a big part of your focus is building the tooling for the sales reps, I mean, that you're preaching to the converted, our very business is that automation tool for sales reps. What are some of the challenges that you found in translating your capabilities or your methodologies into tooling?
The biggest challenge has always been like in order to even build something like that, you first have to have a standardized kind of a value taxonomy that you can use that to put into a system and build architecture around that. So that has been our number one priority, even before even thinking about how we scale it. Initially, when I joined, we were focusing more on the pre-sale side. There are customized deals where value consultants were building custom models, right? So that is not a scalable way to go. So when we decided building a self-service or scale tool, first task was okay, let's first standardize the language around value so that everybody can adopt and speak the same language. So that was one of the big challenges. Building the value foundation, taxonomy, same value drivers, same language all across, so that whenever not even like sellers or customer success, value consultant, whenever they talk about value, they are speaking the same language all across. So that was the one big task that we had, like to build that standardized taxonomy and then build like a tool that can now help quantify the benefits, create the business case and all. That was one of the challenge. And then second challenge, I would say, the models at that time that we had, they were very complex. Like value consultants would be able to easily understand that, they build them, but we wanted to, dumb it down a little bit so that if sellers are not able to understand the models, the math behind that, they won't be able to articulate the value very well. So they are in the room with customer. If there are some questions from the customer around, okay, how did you get that value? So it's if it is so complex, they are not able to explain that to the customer. So that second challenge, I would say, was like to make those models simplified so that there are like few inputs, not so multi-tab kind of a model where one outcome is been linked to other outcomes, just to have a simplified view of the value.
And this is all driven through an Excel spreadsheet, an Excel model.
Initially, yes. Initially, we had Excel models. Everything was on Excel.
Of course.
Multi-tab. Yeah, so it's like a
You could
master.
fly an astronaut to the moon on Excel pretty much. It's so
Yeah,
versatile.
like, exactly. So it was like master Excel file, with different products as tabs. Just imagine that when one outcome is linked to other outcome in
Yeah,
some
yeah,
other
yeah.
tab. So yeah, so we took that, we automated, we built a system around that, created a simplified version of that. And then the third problem that I would say, like the enablement. You cannot push a product or something, without enabling sellers
Yeah.
how to leverage that. So that was one of the big initiative, that how we can explain that to sellers, like how you can leverage that and then include that in all the engagement that you have with the customer.
I think it's really fascinating because this is one of those spaces, probably the most unique space in sales, where the very tool that you're using, which ultimately builds a business case, is actually an existing buyer behavior. And what I mean by that is the buyer's always going to build a business case to make the decision on why this category, why service now, and why today, right? They may not structure it in the three whys, but ultimately those are the three decisions they
Yeah.
need to answer, the three questions they need to answer. The benefit of using a business case as the ultimate tool where everything kind of falls into is that you're building in collaboration with your buyers something they're going to do anyway. And oftentimes that buyer may have never bought your category before. So the support they can get from either a team like yours or the sales reps or a combination of both in helping them understand what are the main value drivers of this category and why should I move forward with this change today, you're doing them a favor, right? Such a
Yeah.
unique dynamic there because it is the only sales tool that is actually an existing buyer behavior. And I think if sales reps get that, the penny drops. That's when they really start to adopt these tools.
That's exactly correct, right? Like it's a collaborative approach. It's not like a one-sided thing that, okay, it's my business case I build for you. It's more
Exactly.
like, in this case, the way I see it, it is a tool at the buyer side. So that is a mechanism, or that is a tool that help your champion to sell to the actual economic
Internal.
buyer. Right,
Exactly.
internal, exactly. So that's why it has to be very collaborative. You have to include your champion pretty early on, whenever you even started to build like a value hypothesis in the initial phases, so that all the assumption that you're putting in, whether it's a benchmark you're putting for the industry, anything, so you have to refine that with the customer and having a collaborative approach, so that champion can also understand. And when seller or a value consultant is not in that room, the champion is presenting that business case to the economic buyer and helping them explain, this is the value we are getting, and get the justification of the investment.
We always say that there's two sales, the one we see, the one we don't see. The business
Yep.
case supports the one that we don't see. So I
Yes.
see on your LinkedIn, you've got in a nice parentheses AI backed in terms of your current role. I'd love to really understand how, over the course of the last few years, how have you embraced AI in automating or supporting or scaling your function and therefore the function also of the sales team?
These value engagements, it has different levels, right? Like if we just compare that to a ticketing kind of a leveling, right? Level 0, level 1, level 2. So level 0, I believe, is as a self service, where nobody from value consulting team is being engaged. Seller use that automation tool, or like self service business creation tool, create and present to the customer, or hand it over to the customer, whatever. So that is level 0. Level 1 is where value consultant is helping seller, enabling how to use the tool, or even getting into the tool, putting some inputs, or even seller has created some business case, they are reviewing it together, and then modifying that's narrative that seller can present. But that's the only role that value consultant has. Level 2 is like white glove service, like end to end. We can go to level 3 as well, where it is value consultant being tied to the deal planning as well, like from end to end deal, and owning all that engagement, and guiding customer, like, okay, this is the phase 1, this is where we should get value, we should be implementing this is the phase 2. So that's a kind of a level 3. Level point 0.5 in between 0 and 1, where AI can get in and become a sales coach,
Yeah.
and build, leveraging some of the LLM, or some building, some of the kind of agent that can do the web search, build a story and narrative, right?
Kind of a
In
POV, an initial point of view.
Exactly. Yeah, like outside in perspective, so that value consultants are mostly focused on L2 and L3. They're not even
Totally.
going to anything that is level 1 or point 0.5. That's where we have been trying to build some agent that can retrieve doing some web search, like what customer is especially doing in terms of what are their strategic priorities, and bring those objectives and prioritize into the narrative that can be
Build
built.
that value pyramid, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. The value pyramid, like what are the objectives and the problems, and where the solution capabilities are aligned to solve those problems, and the outcomes and all. We are pushing for those type of agents that can build those narratives. And at the same time, another use case is you are trying to sell to a customer. It would be really great to have some sort of a way that automatically can pull some of the examples or the success stories of other customers within the
For
same
sure.
industry. So we had built something similar to that as well. That is like some public success stories of customers. An agent can definitely pull those examples to help you and take that when you are going to the discovery. Hey, I mean, this is a customer, XYZ in your industry who has realized that value. So we are leveraging those kind of use cases, and when we are building, leveraging AI in the value space.
I think exactly that. The models are really good at building an initial hypothesis, because a good thing about an LLM is that it's probabilistic. And so when you're in a scenario of hypotheticals, then it's okay to be probabilistic, because you can use that to engage an initial conversation to get to the deterministic side that AI is not good at yet, which is something that would then, that's when the white glove treatment happens at the bigger deals. We find that also with our tool, like we've got a lot of AI built in our solution, that a lot of that research, but even reps will maybe do something on Claude or on Gemini or on ChatGPT and bring that into our platform to further provide more detail into the initial hypothesis. As you get into more prescriptive part of the process where precision is key, that's where you just can't rely on the LLM.
Yeah. It can help you do outside in kind of analysis, give you some story or some references all along before you get into a discovery meeting with the customer. Hey, I mean, this is a perspective that I already have, right?
Yes.
Anything that is, decision making, the negotiation, the storytelling, understanding the objectives, aligning to the solutions, that is something that still is going to be human, right? AI can give you a strategic perspective, a value narrative, or a value perspective before you get in the beginning of the conversation. But as you keep deep diving into it, you would need value consultant expertise to lead those engagements.
I think from the perspective of the next thing that it can do, because our platform is doing that, is if you've got a set of outcomes that your organization can deliver, what it can do is listen to a call transcript and infer from that call transcript the challenges that the organization has based on that discovery call, and then suggest to the sales rep, these are the outcomes that can best fulfill and address those challenges. So that kind of outcome to challenge and therefore value to challenge mapping, AI can do very well if you've got the foundation there of context, and what you're doing is mapping the context.
Exactly. If we can build a system of that value foundation or value taxonomy sitting in a system or a web search, right? Like 10K's agent can search and get the priorities where this particular customer is going in future. From there, it can map to the outcomes that they would like to have. Then outcome being mapped to the different products that it can use. So that will create the whole story. Like we are not going, just selling one product. We are just talking about, okay, these are your objectives. We know that where you want to go in next few years. These are the outcomes that you can get. And for those outcomes, these are the multiple products. It's not like you're selling one product. You're focusing more on like what problem they are trying to solve for. And then the conversation becomes so easy, without talking about single product. We are now talking about the overall solution and the platform.
Yeah, it's basically challenge, use case, and solution. This has flown by. In your career in the value space, who has been either your mentor or who's been the best business value consultant you worked with?
So when I joined ServiceNow, value was pretty new for me. Matt Danton and Mark Goldstein, they showed trust. They hired me. They have been great leaders and helped me understand value space very well.
Gaurav, thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you, Martin.